Let me start with something most people never say out loud. I've failed myself before. I've broken promises to myself. I've started projects and then stopped because that motivation faded. The reason you don't trust yourself anymore, it's not because you're lazy. And it's not because you lack discipline. It's because your system has learned something from those moments. And today, I want to show you how self-trust actually breaks, why trying harder makes it worse, and how to rebuild it in a way that finally sticks. Not through motivation and not through willpower, but through a system that your nervous system can actually trust. If this topic hits home, there's a reason. Because self-trust isn't a mindset issue, it's an identity issue. And when you don't trust yourself, everything just feels harder. Decision making, consistency, confidence, following through. My friend, you hesitate more. You second guess yourself. You start avoiding commitments altogether. And that's not because you don't care, but because part of you doesn't believe you're going to follow through. And that internal friction, it creates a quiet kind of exhaustion. Most people think self-trust breaks when they fail, but that's not true. Self-trust doesn't break when you fail. It fails long before. When your nervous system associates effort with danger. Let me explain this in a story. There was a man who made a deal with himself every morning. He promised he would walk to the edge of his field and stand there for 5 minutes. Nothing heroic, not a finish line, just 5 minutes. The first day, he went halfway and then turned back. The second day, he didn't even leave his porch. And then the third day, he just stopped making promises out loud. Weeks later, the field hadn't changed, but something else had. Every time he thought of walking toward it, his chest tightened. Not because the walk was hard, but because he remembered all the times that he would and didn't. So his nervous system did what it was designed to do. It stopped believing his words. And from then on, the problem wasn't discipline. It wasn't motivation. It was that his body learned a pattern. Promises lead to disappointment. Effort leads to tension. And trying leads to failure. And the safest option for him became not trying at all. When was the last time you promised yourself something? I'll start tomorrow. This time I won't quit. I'm serious now. We've all said things like that to ourselves. And each time we say them, in that moment, you probably meant it. I know I did when I say stuff like that. But if you were already overwhelmed, you're already tired, and you're already emotionally stretched, your nervous system wasn't hearing a commitment. It was hearing a threat. And when the follow through didn't happen, your system just logged that pattern. Big promises cause pressure, which equals collapse. Not as a moral failure, but as a survival lesson. We've been taught that self-trust is about confidence. That if you just believe in yourself more, you'll finally be consistent. But belief doesn't create trust. Predictability does. Self-trust is not optimism about the future self. It's evidence based on your past behavior under stress. Your nervous system doesn't care what you want. It cares what you do when things get uncomfortable. So this is where most people get it wrong. They fail and then they respond with pressure. More rules, more structure, more, I need to get my life together. But pressure without safety trains avoidance. When you demand change from a dysregulated system, it doesn't rise to the occasion, it protects it. And that protection shows up as procrastination, numbness, self-sabotage, quitting before you even start. Not because you're weak, but because your system doesn't feel safe staying engaged. Self-trust is not confidence. Self-trust is not motivation. Self-trust is not discipline. Self-trust is your nervous system believing that effort won't overwhelm you. So let's quickly just go back to the man in the field. The man simply just stopped making promises to himself. Instead, he chose one small action each morning, so small that it felt insignificant. One day he stood up and took 3 slow breaths. The next day, he wrote one sentence. Another day, he walked to the end of the driveway and back. Nothing dramatic happened. No surge of motivation, no burst of confidence. But something quiet began to shift. His body noticed that effort no longer ended in pressure, that starting didn't lead to a collapse, and showing up didn't require force. Over time, his nervous system learned a new rule. Effort is safe. Follow through is possible. I won't be abandoned halfway through. And without hype or willpower, trust returned. Not because he pushed harder, but because his body finally believed that he could handle what he started. This is why progress feels easy when life is calm and feels impossible when you're under pressure. Not because you lack discipline, but because your system is scanning for safety. But here's the pattern most people don't recognize. You start when things feel calm. You stop when stress appears. Then you blame yourself for being inconsistent. But consistency was never the problem. Stress tolerance was. Your system didn't fail. It did exactly what it was designed to do. It pulled you out of a situation that felt unsafe. My friend, one of the biggest mistakes people make, and this is crucial, most people try to rebuild self-trust by increasing intensity. They say, I just need more discipline. I need to push through. I need to stop being like this. But then intensity without regulation feels like threat. And threat destroys trust. If you want your system to trust you again, you must stop proving how serious you are and start proving how safe you are. To rebuild self-trust, you don't rise the bar. You actually lower it. Not permanently, not because you're settling, but because trust is rebuilt through reliable follow-through, not impressive effort. Your system needs to see that this person only makes promises that they can keep, even on bad days, especially on bad days. Self-trust is rebuilt when 3 conditions are met. 1, action feels safe. 2, the commitment is small enough to complete while stressed. And 3, the follow-through is consistent. That's it. No hype, no transformation overnight, just predictability. My friend, people underestimate small actions because they confuse impact with trust. Small actions don't feel impressive, but they do something far more important. They teach your nervous system, I can move without collapsing. And when your system believes that, momentum just returns naturally. Instead of thinking, what should I be doing? Ask, what can I do even when I'm tired, stressed, or overwhelmed? Because that question respects your nervous system. That question rebuilds trust. Because self-trust isn't built on your best days. It's built on the worst ones. So here's a quick life scenario that a lot of people deal with. Let's say you want to work out. Your old pattern. I'm going to work out 5 days a week. System hears pressure, miss one day, trust breaks again. New pattern, okay? I'll move my body for 5 minutes. 5 minutes feels safe. 5 minutes gets completed. Trust increases. And here's the irony. Once trust is present, effort expands naturally. Lowering the bar can feel like you're giving up, especially if you're a driven person, especially if you're ambitious. But it isn't about lowering standards. It's about rebuilding the foundation. You don't build a house by starting on the roof, and you rebuild self-trust the same way. Okay, if you're someone who can't stay consistent, you're someone whose system learned to associate effort with overwhelm. That's not a character flaw. It's conditioning. And conditioning, my friend, can be changed. When self-trust returns, something powerful happens. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop overthinking every decision. You stop needing motivation to start because action just feels natural again. And that, my friend, is where real confidence begins. Confidence is outward. Self-trust is internal. Confidence says, I believe I can. And self-trust says, I know I'll follow through. And confidence, it collapses without self-trust every time. And this leads directly into discipline. Most people try to build discipline first, but discipline without trust feels like self-betrayal. Your system resists because it doesn't believe you'll protect it, which is exactly what I want to talk about next. My friend, check out this next video, and I'm going to break down why discipline fails under stress, why willpower collapses when life gets hard, and how real confidence is built after self-trust is restored. If you've ever said, I know what to do, but I just can't stay consistent, this video is that missing piece. So watch this next, how to build self-discipline and why willpower fails and confidence follows, because discipline doesn't create self-trust. Self-trust creates discipline. And once that order is restored, everything starts working again.